Hello, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me from a Google Cloud platform. Using the Google technology of Google Hangouts, found a great background here. I'm laptopically proud of me having the logo in the background here of Google Cloud Platform and the Gotham Club, where I seem to have missed some briefing, but that gives me the opportunity to share with you what my top 3 takeaways of the conference were. So first of all, interesting benchmark to see because it was the first event with Diane Greene, who the former CEO of VMware, joining Google. And she was on stage for the first time. Was good to see her. It was good to see her talk about where she sees things going. And it's all about moving the enterprise. The key takeaways from our call was about significant investment from Google. I think the number was close to 10 billion on CapEx on the cloud platform side. So that is impressive, no question about that. And the other thing was an analogy, right? She likes to sail, and she wants that Google's cloud offerings do the same thing that some foils have done to America's Cup or advance of very fast sailing. So interesting analogy. Next was, before that, of course, Alphabet's, no, Google's CEO Pichai, who set the whole thing up. More interesting, there was Google's chairman, Eric Schmidt, on stage 2, with handwritten notes, very interesting, in 2016. But interesting that he shared an analogy as well, and he reminded us of the choke in cars, which has to be pulled. So his view on this is that as a choke was something very important to start a car in the 1960s, it's going to be something really relevant or much, much better in 2016, where the car is parking yourself, maybe even finding the car and so on. And he gave some interesting recommendations, too much to go into detail here about what all he recommended. But some very interesting ones. Check out the story file which comes along, which I published already, where I collect my notes and tweets and that. And then we went with Urs Hölzle, some very interesting pieces. So first takeaway, yes, the enterprise matters. Second one, significant innovation happening there. And Urs Hölzle went over many speeds and feats. I would have liked them to be a little more enterprise pricey. The key takeaways being significant network speed, everybody knows that, and significant extension on the locations. Google said that they're opening a Tokyo instance and a Portland, Oregon instance, I believe. Sorry, I don't have my notes in front of me right now. Very important. Plus, which was really that 10 additional locations in 2016, which is major. And location matters to cloud, so the investment is there, is also a question. And then what really emerged from the rest of the presentation was the way, and how it was structured, was the way how Google sees the overall stack in terms of structure of that, and that gave the structure for the rest of the presentation, in the sense that the customers, the stories were structured along that piece. I just double check here. Yes, it's the motto is being basically build better software faster. That's the whole idea around not needing to use a choke on the car manually anymore, and not to have to use the foils, basically, right? Importantly, Hölzle talked also about security specifications, but let me come back to the stack, which was walked through by the main gentleman who develops Google Cloud offering. So the lower level is infrastructure operations, then comes application development, and on top of that sits data analytics. And that is interesting. In general, it gave the structure to that, and it's different to how things are generally seen, but really shows the nature of the DNA of the Google Cloud platform. And the reference were based on that. So on the platform side, it was basically showing things, innovations around Stack Driver, which would be interesting because it allows you to monitor not only Google, but also AWS loads. It's very clear Google wants to get some other loads from other places. Shared that actively in an interactive demo, which is always interesting to see. And then the customer for that was, 3 customers were part of that, and each of them were examples of all these 3 layers of the stack, which was Coca-Cola, Disney Interactive, and last but not least, already proven last week, Spotify, for the highest level of that, the data and analytics parts of that. So good structure in the keynote from that, clear understanding what sets Google apart and what the interests are. Really interesting was, of course, Jeff Dean's presentation on machine learning. He gave a very interesting live demo on Google Photos. So going across the whole graph, showing that and seeing the advance so that what all can be recognized, and how fast that graph can also be navigated was very impressive to see. So coming back to my takeaways, my point of view of overall, right? So it's clear Google wants to go after the enterprise. It is clear that Google is investing in the Google Cloud Platform and has a very differentiated view view with infrastructure, application development, and then data and analytical service on top of that, right? So coming back to my 3 questions I told you before the keynote, don't want to be a wise person saying this after the keynote. So before the keynote, I had like top three questions to ask to Google. So the first one is, how does Google plan to catch up with AWS Cloud and Azure? There was not much talk about Azure here, but significant tools which can deploy across Google Cloud Platform and Azure. Mainly the cloud stack view of that, the stack view of the stack offering, sorry, memory lapse here, which allows you to look at loads between both places and transfer loads between 2 places. Very clear what Google is going after here. On the second one, can Google attract the enterprise load? I'm a little bit more skeptical there. The Google executives look to me like the kids in the candy store to a certain point. We built such great stuff. Don't you understand what you need it for, what you can use it for? Most CIOs, CTOs who have to make cloud decisions are too busy to really figure that out and don't want uncertainty. So they want the vendor, in this case Google, to say very explicitly what can be done, where this will be going. So it will be interesting to see how that can be addressed. And the examples are not the ones you can usually relate to, right? I mean, Coca-Cola doing all the pictures for the World Cup, very impressive scalability case, but not what your typical enterprise CIO, CTO needs to do and solve. Disney Interactive, its own animal and its own rights, a very interesting load again around rendering and running these movies, but not again what the typical enterprise does. And last but not least, Spotify, no need to say that, media streaming, data analytics, very interesting, everybody can relate to it, great example for that, but not again what the typical enterprise does. And the third question is like, can Google make it very clear what value is there for the enterprise on the artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data side? I think they showed very impressive statistics on that. It's very clear if you're doing something in the analytics space, big data space, you must look at Google Cloud Platform, but it's not tangible enough yet in terms of what you want to do and see from an enterprise perspective. Maybe a little harsh and maybe a little early on the day, and what hasn't happened can still happen. Lots of things will be happening at Google. I appreciate you watching. I'll be blogging and tweeting more from Google Cloud Platform. Speak to you soon.